After my business trip in Cairo, Janice and I flew down to Uganda, which is a very small East African country of about 42 million people. Our first stop would be Murchison Falls National Park, where we got to see this amazing waterfall. For the next 3 days, we are going to stay at Nile Safari Lodge in the Murchison National Park. During this video, I'm going to talk about what should we do during COVID if we're creative, if we're inventors. Should we stand on the sidelines and just wait for everything to get back to normal? Well, back in March of 2020, Janice and I were in Morocco having a great time vacationing, and we had to get evac'd out because of COVID. And when I got back, Andrew and I decided, look, we don't know exactly what to do, so why don't we interview companies and ask these companies, these open innovation companies, hey, what should we do? So back in March of 2020, Andrew and I did a webinar every single week for 8 months to educate you on what's going on and what should we do as inventors. And I'm going to talk about what they told us, but I'm also going to talk about today because we still have COVID and it's still a problem. So stay tuned. I'm going to cover all of it during this video. Okay, so once we started interviewing these companies, we were a little surprised because they all told us that, hey, they still need ideas. They still realized, even though the situation's changed a little bit, that in order for them to be competitive, they need ideas from us. So they told us, keep inventing. And what was really incredible about it, we interviewed big companies such as Mattel and many, many other mid-sized companies as well. And we heard the same thing over and over again. Don't stop inventing. We need new ideas. In the park, we saw lions, elephants, giraffes, water buffaloes, and many other animals. All right, so this is what the companies told us. Hey, like I said, they still need ideas, but the categories that were really on fire during COVID ended up being the toy industry. Of course, people are staying home, they're playing more games. The pet industry, more people got pets and they needed some toys, but also things to take care of their pets. That exploded as well. But also what exploded were kitchen products because people were staying home and they're doing more cooking in their kitchen. Anything that had to do with staying home, those industries exploded. They did extremely well. The companies that were online, of course, because the stores were having a hard time opening up, did wonderfully. So these companies were still doing great, still selling products even during COVID. The one thing they told us during this time that a lot of companies were not looking at products that dealt with COVID, which I thought was really interesting because I think everybody thought this was not going to be around for a very long time. So during COVID for that year, it was really good news for inventors. A lot of products, people need products, companies are looking for products, so it was actually great for all of us. Okay, so now a year and a half later, COVID's still with us. So what the heck is going on? Everyone thought that we'd be moving past it, but things have changed a little bit. And that's why I want to talk about what can you do today if you're an inventor, what type of product can you come up with, and what you should be aware of. Things have changed a little bit, so stay tuned. Okay, so the biggest problem today is that companies still need ideas, but they're having an issue with supply chain. As everyone knows, it's hard to get products in their hands, in their warehouses, to ship for Christmas. And isn't that incredible? Supply chain is kind of like slowed everything down to a halt. So what can you do as an inventor? What type of products do you need to come up with? What's the strategy? And I'm going to give you my opinion in just a minute. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about my strategy now, because I had the opportunity to talk to quite a few companies and just listen to what they're telling me. I was able to visit a few trade shows with Andrew to hear what companies are talking about, what they're thinking about, and how we as inventors can come up with ideas that are needed during this time. This is what I would do. If I was coming up with ideas, I would try to come up with ideas that are fairly simple, without a lot of moving parts, things that are not complicated, because things are going to take a little bit longer. Things are a little bit kind of clogged up at the moment. So come up with ideas that are very simple to implement, small changes on existing ideas. I love that strategy. I always have. But that strategy today is going to be extremely important. So simple ideas, work on those. So China is having a problem getting products here. Find those companies that are manufacturing outside China, maybe in Mexico, maybe in the Philippines, maybe even in India. It does not matter. Find those companies that are manufacturing those type of products that they're producing in other countries besides China. That would be the strategy I would take. Okay, so I just talked about finding those companies, those open innovation companies are looking for ideas from us that are manufacturing in other places besides China. So how do you really understand or even know where those companies are manufacturing? That's where building a relationship with these open innovation companies is extremely important. So you can talk to them, hey, look, what's going on? What can I do to help you? And guess what? Where are you manufacturing? That is a great approach, but it's all about building relationships and knowing how to navigate these particular waters. once again, I want to talk about some of the categories that are just on fire. And I mentioned earlier, this is not going to stop. Number one, the pet industry. Everybody got a pet during COVID, and those products are selling like hotcakes. I hate to say it like hotcakes, but everybody's got a pet. But number two, I would look at the kitchen category. That's always a hot category, but even more today, as I just said earlier, hardware. Yes, some of those companies that are talking about do it at home projects. Holy smokes, it's on fire. So think about the things that you would want to fix around your house. Also, I would say fitness, that's a big one. I mentioned toys, games, families are staying home, DRTV, anything that you can think of, maybe gardening, maybe outdoor barbecuing. It does not matter. If you're doing it at home, that's going to be a hot category during COVID. Since it's hard to travel these days, as I told you, Andrew Krause and I, we're going to trade shows, but you have to learn how to pitch on Zoom or on Skype. You know, a lot of people still are not traveling, so pitching on Zoom is a little bit different. You need to bring that enthusiasm. You need to bring everything you can to make a good pitch. But Zoom and Skype, that's the way people are pitching today. Not so much in person, but using those two tools. But make sure you also do the sell sheet. We talk about that, your 1-minute video. It's very, very, very important. But learn to pitch on Zoom, get the camera going. Make sure your backdrop, wherever you're pitching, looks good. That's what I would do. Okay, one of the biggest things you could do during this situation is have a little empathy for these companies that are having problems getting their product because their inventory, they probably have a lot of inventory. They're probably frustrated. They're probably not having a great sales year. So be patient. Don't keep on bugging them. Ask them about their process and what you need to do to be that asset. But do realize they're having some issues here. So be patient, have a lot of empathy, be part of their team. Be enthusiastic, be supportive. Make sure you use the I word. What can I do for you? That's how I would do it today. You cannot be more helpful to these companies and realize they're struggling a little bit now because they can't get the product. So be helpful. So this is the conclusion. This is Stephen Key. I'm in Uganda on safari, and I'm talking a little bit about what we can do as inventors to still be creative. Do not be on the sidelines. These companies need ideas. So come up with a lot of ideas. Be patient. Try to find simple ideas. Build relationships with those companies. Do all the things that you could do to really be helpful. So this is Stephen Key. I'm really happy to make this short little video and show you some of the animals I've seen in Uganda. Today we're taking off to a new location, so stay tuned.